all good?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Morning, everybody. Reminder, we'll start. This is the live section, and we'll start, please, with Vishali from Premier League.
Good afternoon, Mikel.
Hello.
So the team news update has come out on the website, but just for sake of clarity, can you just let everyone know who is back and fully fit again?
Well, I could respond to you that question this evening. We haven't trained yet, so we are still waiting for a few players back. But as far as I know, almost everybody will be available.
Can you give an update on Said Kolasinac? I know you said he will be coming back, but he was on the receiving end of quite a bad tackle in the international break. Is he okay for this game against Norwich?
Again, we will assess him this afternoon and see how he is, whether he's fit or not. He's one of the doubts that we have.
And how about Granit Xhaka? I know he contracted COVID-19. How is he doing?
He's doing well. He's still in his country. He needs to stay there till Saturday, I believe. So as soon as they can release him and he's okay to travel, he will be here with us.
And during the international break, Eddie gave an interview in which he said that he's really looking forward to seeing all of the players, all the players who signed and everyone who's been out obviously with injury back in the team. How confident are you that when you do have a fully fit squad available again, that fans will see an upturn in results and performances?
Well, I'm really looking forward to have everybody available and try to start the season the way we want. We don't want to use any excuses. We know how difficult the start was with injuries, with a lot of COVID issues that we had and extremely difficult games that we have to play. We have to reset now. We need to start, hopefully get everybody back on track and start to win football games, which is what we have to do.
And of course, next up is Norwich at home. Does it feel like a must-win game?
It always is our Arsenal, and the pressure is always there to be as high as possible on that league table. We need the first win. We're going to play in front of our fans after a disappointing start, so it's down to us to provide everything we have, performance-wise, to end the result that we want at the end.
And they signed quite a few players in the summer. What have you made of the team that they've assembled?
Well, first of all, what they've been doing over the years, how consistent they've been with the manager, with the style of play, and they've been up and down, but they haven't changed much. And it's a team that is a joy to watch, the way they want to play, the risks that they take, how attacking they are. I don't know what they would do against us, but so far what I've seen, even against top sides, it's been good, even though results haven't been good.
And how important is a good performance from Arsenal this weekend as much as the result?
I just want to focus on that because the performance will bring to the result. Everybody's going to talk about winning. You have to earn the right to do that. And unfortunately, in the last few games, we've done basic things that haven't allowed us to compete in the games like we want. So if we do those rights, we'll be much closer to win football matches, and that will bring momentum and everything will change.
Okay, thanks, Mikel.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vishali. Jeremy from Sky.
Yeah, hi Mikel, good to speak to you again. The club is saying that Partey, Nketiah, Gabriel and White are all available, so in some ways it was a good international break, wasn't it, to regroup and get some players back?
Yes, I think we needed some break to try to get them back from different reasons. They've been missing long periods, and hopefully by Saturday we'll have a different team.
Eddie was speaking about the transfer policy over the break. Obviously you were the highest spenders in the window. Edu's been defending the policy of buying players who are under 23. Does that really help you though right now, right here? You know, you've got players who are bought for the future essentially.
Yes, I think we have tried to explain the project and the decisions that have been made over the last few months and the transfer window, the amount of changes that happened in 2 years. I think is almost 30 players. And Edu explained it like I tried to explain it. We have all participated trying to create and build this project, obviously led by the owners and all the hierarchy at the football club. So it's a project that we believed in, that we have to assemble because it was the option that we believe it was the best for the future of the football club. And we all take responsibility, and because we all been involved in the decision. And now we have to make it work. The complexity in football is that you want to build a medium, long-term project with immediate results, and we have to embrace that because it's not any other way in football. And you're gonna have to ask results, and we are ready to do that.
Obviously, Ainsley Maitland-Niles wanted to go before the deadline, but you wouldn't let him go. How has he reacted to that, and what kind of promise can you give him about first-team football now?
Any private conversation with players, what we believe that the role that they can have in the team is always discussed openly but privately, and that's the way we resolve all the matters and the way that one is resolved. And I am happy that he stayed. It was our intention, and he's another player in the squad.
Obviously, Tomiyasu has been away with Japan, but how impressed have you been with him? And he's still going to be ready for a Premier League debut despite the travelling he's had.
We need the work permit first. The club is trying hard to achieve that in the next couple of hours. He's back in the country right now. I will meet him for the first time today probably and train with him, see how it is, get a feel for it. He's been playing, so he should be completely fit, and yeah, we've been impressed. That's the reason why we decided to sign him.
You mentioned Granit Xhaka there. Obviously, the Swiss were telling us he had a positive COVID test, and Jose Mourinho is saying, well, you should go and get jabs. I mean, what's your policy on players getting vaccinations, Mikel? Is Jose right?
We are trying to explain all the reasons why we believe is the right thing to do, how much it will protect, first of all, the club, secondly, the teammates, all the environment that they are around, the exposure that we will have if they don't do it, but at the end it's a really personal thing. Obviously, they will be limited in certain aspects if they don't, because we don't want to expose ourselves in certain things, but at the end it's a personal matter, it's not an obligation, and we have to respect that.
Couple of final points. How's Ramsdale been doing in training? Have you been thinking about a change at goalkeeper for this game?
He's doing really good. He's training. He's a big competitor, somebody that is really pushy in training sessions. We knew that when we made all the recruitment process with the team. And now we have two very different goalkeepers, two different age profiles, two different qualities, but both really good. And that's the thing that we should be aiming for.
Just finally from me, Mikel, you've been bottom of the table now for nearly 2 weeks. It's not a good feeling for you, all the Arsenal fans. What can you promise them on Saturday?
Obviously, it's nowhere near where we want to be. That's for sure. I think it needs a little bit of perspective of what happened. Everybody's disappointed. We are not different. The fans should be disappointed. Everybody related to the club should be disappointed. But we are so determined and willing to change it as quick as possible, and we are on it.
Thank you so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
James from TalkSport.
Good afternoon, Mikel. How are you?
Everything.
Mikel, it's been 21 outgoings and 10 signings in the last year. How different does the squad feel now? Do you feel like you have a stronger squad than you did 12 months ago?
Well, a completely different squad, just with the numbers that you just mentioned. You can tell that it's unheard of. Now we have to make it work. Now we have the tools that we believe it was going to get the best opportunity for us to compete the way we want to compete and build what we want to build in this project. And now we have to make it work. We have to glide it together. We need to create relationships, chemistry, understanding. They have to adapt, and we have to do that really quickly.
You've been forced to use a number of different options at right back already this season. What makes you feel that Tomiyasu is the right fit?
Well, Tommy, first of all, because he's got the capacity to play in any position in the back four. He's done it in all across the back four and the back three as well. He gives that versatility. He gives different qualities in that right back position, and he's a player that we follow for a long time, and he brings qualities that we didn't have in the squad.
In terms of Ainsley Maitland-Niles, what response have you seen from him in the last couple of weeks? And what positions do you think he should be playing for Arsenal? Where are you considering him?
And the response is after the conversation that we had privately to explain and to put on the table our feelings, why we have to do or decide something different than what we decided a few months ago when we allowed him to go with West Brom. And then he has embraced the opportunity, the chance. He knows that he has a unique quality in any squad, which is his versatility to play in many different positions. And he needs to become the best at doing that, because it's something that is very rare to find in football.
Hector spoke earlier this week and he said that let's judge the team when you can put out the team you want to. Do you feel like you are close now to being able to field your preferred 11 or at least preferred squad?
Well, I hope so. That obviously we are getting players back from injuries, from COVID, from suspensions. So when we are able to do that, we'll try to do that. But we are getting judged every day with our work, every result that we have, and we don't want to use any excuse. But to be fair, looking back what happened in the last 3 or 4 weeks and looking at it with a little bit perspective, it's been a lot, and hopefully we can change it pretty quickly.
And just final question from me, Mikel. Reece Nelson going out on loan to Holland. Do you feel like young British players gain more benefit from potentially going abroad than necessarily staying in the Premier League or going down the leagues? We've obviously seen the success with Jude Bellingham and Jadon Sancho in recent time.
That's what we are hoping for, and I think it's a club that is going to suit him really good, a manager that really rates him and believe that his qualities can fit in the model that he wants. He's going to have the time to play, and it's been a difficult year for him. He has an enormous quality, and he needs to show it. He's got at the right age right now to prove that that he can do it, and we wish him all the best.
Thanks, Mikel.
Thank you.
George from the BBC.
Thanks, Mark. Mikel, hello.
Hi.
Hello. Since you've been at Arsenal, your team goes on good runs and then you have consecutive defeats. I mean, where's the real Arsenal and how are you going to move it so that you go on these good runs constantly?
Well, having some consistency, meaning having some stability, and obviously we need to get that stability right when we are able to put the team out there in consecutive matches, building relationships, building understanding, and getting momentum and wins, and hopefully we can do that pretty soon.
So you've got all these new players and it's clear you've got this project and a new direction. You know, a lot of fans are still disappointed with the start to the season. Is it a case now of there's no excuses, you've got to rise up the table?
Well, 100%, and we don't want to give any excuses. We have tried to explain what happened in previous weeks. You can give all the reasons that you want. If somebody doesn't want to see it, okay, it's up to them. We try to explain things. I think we have been very clear, probably more clear than ever, to try to explain what the club is trying to do, what we are trying to do, and now is to try to do it in the best possible way while everybody is understanding, but knowing that at this club only one thing is acceptable, and is be the best.
So you're saying you feel like you're over your bad patch now?
I hope so, yes, George. 100%. Yeah, I see the future with a lot of positivity.
Good. Just in terms of Leno, I know there was a problem with the German team and their flight back from Iceland last night. Does he make training, and does that affect whether he could possibly start on Saturday?
We are training later just to prevent all those things happen, because we had some issues in the past. So hopefully he will be on time and he will be counted to be available for Saturday.
And Ramsdale could start, or you're not decided yet? Any
player can start. That's why we won the competition and raise the level in each position, and that's why we recruited Aaron, and we know Bertrand as well. What a fantastic goalkeeper he is.
Okay, so and the last one from me, Hector Bellerin leaving, what does that mean for his future, and how hard was it to let him go? He's been at Arsenal a long time.
It's been a long time. He's been a really important part of everything that happened at the club in the last 10 years. He's an exceptional player, but an incredible person that he will be missed. To find somebody like Hector is not easy. He's been raised here with us and is loved by everybody at the football club. I have to say goodbye with sadness, but at the same time I had to understand his position. He needed a new challenge. He's been needing for a new challenge for a while right now. So after discussing it for a long time, we had decided to let it go, because we believed it was the right thing for him as well.
Thank you.
Nick from Haters.
Hi there, Mikel. Good to see you again.
Hi.
Just looking at your selection options, you've got Ben White and Gabriel fit together for the first time. Are they your ideal first choice central defensive pairing now?
They are one of the options. Obviously, they've both been signed since I've been here, because they have the profile and the qualities that we are looking for. And now they have to establish a relationship, that cohesion in the backline, that it's really important. They have never played together yet, but they will do.
So they can only do that by playing together, can't they? You have to get
That's the only option. Train a lot together and play a lot together.
And similarly, in midfield with Thomas Partey back again, is his partnership with Conga something we could be seeing? Is that an ideal midfield partnership, the reason you signed those players?
Depending on who do we have available and the formation that we're going to use, if we're going to play with two holders, with one holder, we would have some options there as well with the arrival of Martin, having Emil as well, he can play in those pockets. It will depend.
Talking about Emil, he came home from the under-21s because he was unwell. How's he?
Yeah, his current illness has not been feeling good. He could not stay there, and the England national team was really positive about letting him go because everybody could see he wasn't available. So let's see how he is in the next couple of days.
Just another couple of players. Flo Balogun, he started the first game on the bench for the second, but we haven't seen him in the squad for the last couple of games. How's he coming on?
Well, he made his debut against Brentford, and he played the following game against Chelsea as well. So it's been a big step for him in the last few months. He's done all the pre-season with us, so he's already done a lot in few months.
So he's quite ready to be involved regularly then?
Well, he's another player in the squad that has to fight for his place and show that he's available to do that.
Okay, finally, just can you give us a quick one on Jack Wilshere, who's been training out in Italy, unable to get a club? What's your thoughts on his situation, and would there ever be a chance of him training with you guys again?
Sorry, can you repeat the question, Nick?
I was talking about Jack.
Jack Wilshere, yeah.
He's unable to get a club. He's training out in Italy. Just your thoughts on his situation.
Against
Would there ever be a scenario where he was training with Arsenal again?
someone that I know, that I share dressing room, someone that's so loved around the club with every person here, and our doors are always open.
Okay, good stuff. Good luck with that, sir. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. We'll come to Simon at the Standard. This section, deadline at 12 noon tomorrow, Friday.
Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
I just wanted to ask you about Thomas Partey, who was having a brilliant pre-season before he picked up that injury against Chelsea. Just how big a season do you think he can have for the club, and how important is his role, particularly with these young players that are now in the club and you need senior players like Thomas?
Yeah, he's been missed for the last year or so because he missed almost 6 months of competition last year, which is a lot because he came very late as well in the transfer window. It's a player that he has to be one of the leaders. He has to be the boss in midfield and one of the senior players that has to carry responsibility out of the young players and lead. And we have been missing that big time. He's a player that has a winning culture because he has won a lot in the game already, and to have this kind of players in the team, it's extremely important. So he has a huge role to play in the team.
And just one on the window itself. Last year you spoke about the issues of not getting players out the door and the problem that occurs in the dressing room when you don't get people who want to leave the club. Do you feel this time you've got all the outgoings you wanted and you've got a united dressing room after the transfer window shut?
Yes, we have a really united dressing room, a really united group of staff and club, and it's now to start working all together with the difficult stuff we have, try to put that aside and just focus on what is coming next, which is Norwich, and that should be the only focus from now on.
Thanks, Miguel.
Thank you.
And just come to the newspapers with a deadline of 10:30 tomorrow, Friday. Mark?
Hi, Mikel. You were saying, we were talking about the numbers of players who've come in, the number of players who've gone out, and it has been an incredible turnaround in the last 2 or 3 years. Is it possible to really achieve anything when you're constantly changing the squad every sort of 6 months or a year?
I think consistency is the hardest thing to achieve there, Mark, if you ask me the question. And I think it's been 29 changes on players only in the last 18 months. That's incredible. But hopefully now we can find some stability. It's a lot that had to be done, a lot of difficult decisions that have to be done, that they have been done. And we knew the consequences, not only internally, but around the environment, that the implication that those could have, but they were really necessary, and we believe that they were necessary, and they have been taken, and now we need some stability. We cannot continue to do that obviously, because then you don't get any stability, you don't get any momentum, any cohesion in the team. You have constantly players that have to adapt and evolve and understand a certain way of playing, of living, of getting involved around the club, and that's a big challenge. But hopefully now the majority is done.
Is that when you sort of compare it to, say, Man City and Chelsea, where they basically just have to sign one player at a window? Is that the
You cannot
difference?
compare. There are completely different projects. We could have taken a very different approach and just go in the casino and gamble big. But that's a big thing for the club that was going to put him in a live or die situation. And I think we all believe that it wasn't what we could do, and me being responsible in my area or decisions to make, I supported completely the strategy that the club wanted to implement, and there we go. Let's have a big go. It's been a lot of changes, and let's be positive and let's move forward.
Are you happy with the balance of the squad? Because clearly when you arrived, the squad was quite unbalanced. Do you think now the squad is balanced?
We are in a much better place. I'm really happy with what we are being able to do with the ideas that we had, and now it's about getting the maximum out of that team. As I said before, the complexity in this industry is medium-long projects with immediate results, and now is when we have to find the right trick in the car to make it go fast, as quick as possible, and don't break down.
Just briefly, and you mentioned there about Thomas Partey, two of the players you signed to sort of be game changers for Partey and Gabriel. So far they haven't really been that due to injuries or whatever. How important is it for those two to sort of step up and become part of that leadership group?
Yes, huge, and we haven't had that, and it's true that injuries have played a big part on that, but again, it's part of football, and we have to adapt to it. They know what they have to do. If there are certain things that they have to change or do better, we're all ready to try to help them, because they're going to be hugely important for our success.
Is it a frustration that they haven't really been available to you on a regular basis?
Yes, because again, you want some stability. You want to start to pick a certain team that can be consistent, and it needs to generate those relationships and that cohesion, understanding around the team, and that's been a real challenge. And not only from injuries, because we've been in a COVID world for the last 15, 16 months, and obviously that had a big impact on that as well.
Thank you.
Paul?
Hi Mikel, thank you. Well, we all make mistakes in life. I wondered what mistakes you think you might have made at Arsenal since you've been there, and looking back, is there anything you'd have done differently or that you've maybe really learned from since you've been here?
Well, I looked at almost every decision that we made. Sometimes it's whether it was the right decision or not, sometimes whether the timing or not is different, sometimes if we could explain earlier what we were trying to do or not, but certainly I am the responsible one to make things work, and obviously we are not where we want to be, and that's my full responsibility, and it's no one else to blame. That's it.
Would that just have been in terms of decisions with players then, you mean? Or is there
No, it's in everything. When you don't win, you got it wrong, 100%, believe me. And if you play somebody, you should have played somebody else. If you made a substitution at 70, you should have done it at 25. It's always like that. That blame doesn't go away. Every time you lose a football match, it's like this. What I can assure you, everything is being in a very thoughtful process with everybody involved around the club. And when it was more down to decisions towards the team or decisions to play, how we're going to play, or we do, always with my coaching and staff, and nothing off the cuff. Obviously, you have to have that inspiration and that gut feeling that you should never lose, but always with the right intentions.
Does that mean you're always questioning yourself? I presume you've never...
Very much. I want myself to question, and the people that are around me to question me, because are the ones that are looking things from a very close angle, knowing all the facts, but I can have a different perspective as well.
Okay. With all these young players that you brought to the club, they have room to grow, obviously, with Arsenal. Do you think realistically it will be 1 or 2 years maybe before this team really hits its peak?
Well, if you talk about the peak and just an age bracket and what they've done in the game, because some of them they play 20 or 30 matches in the Premier League, some other players in the Premier League and other teams, they already play 200 games at that age, you know, so they're going to take them some time to do that. but we need to do it tomorrow or Saturday.
You spoke about stability in terms of the market and the amount of players coming and going. With so much money spent in this window, is that some of your budget for future windows gone too? Can we expect less spending in future windows as a result?
Well, as I just said to Mark as well, obviously the amount of transactions that have to be made in and out in the last 2 seasons, I think there were 29, only 19 this season. It's a lot, so we cannot sustain that level of changes, obviously for many different reasons, but financially as well, because it wouldn't be sustainable.
Could I take you back to something you said about players getting jabbed too earlier on? You sort of mentioned that there were some aspects that you'd have to limit players with in terms of training and being around the club. Could you just expound on what you meant by that?
For example, traveling. Obviously, if they're not vaccinated and they travel or they socialize in certain places, obviously the risk increases a lot, and obviously we don't want that exposure with any of our players, because obviously at the end the team and the club will pay the price.
So does that mean that if a player does do that or mixes in a way that you don't particularly like, you're keeping them slightly apart?
No, what we have to do is just be on the same page and understand all the facts, that the facts are the personal facts that somebody can have for many different reasons. Maybe it's a health issue, maybe it's a contradiction that he has, or the way he's been educated, or some beliefs, and the other one is, okay, what is best for the club and the team to try to minimize any risk of the player contracting the virus or passing it to anybody else.
Okay, these next few games are obviously really big for Arsenal, but they're really big for you personally too, aren't they? I wondered how you get your players to tune out all the noise around you and your position and that kind of pressure. How do you keep them focused, and how do you avoid all that noise?
Yeah, keep the focus on me, leave the players alone, let them play with a free flow and confidence, and this comes with the responsibility and the expectations of any manager, and you have to embrace that pressure, because it's always going to exist. It's part of your job, unfortunately.
Do you think they
Last one, Paul.
Do they feel relaxed and ready to go and able to play with no pressure and freedom? Do you have to do things differently?
This is what I'm going to try to do, that they can do that, and the crowd can see that, and the fans can support the team, and create a really good energy around the place.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, folks. We'll start with the first section. Just a reminder that it's embargoed until it's finished. So, if you want to take us away, JD from Sky.
Brendan, nice to see you again.
JD, hi. You okay?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good, man.
I'm going to start a little bit different in terms of just with the fitness updates. Could you also just give us the availability in terms of the COVID protocols, of course, players coming back from international duty, and just the typical standard fitness you have to deal with day in, day out anyway? Who is available for this weekend?
Well, we have, I'm just trying to think, we have most of our players back available now. Obviously some still short in fitness, but obviously the likes of JJ and Wesley Fofana are probably the only two that are out at the moment in terms of fitness wise. So yeah, Ryan Bertrand will be back and available. Jonny Evans and Yannick Vestergaard are progressing very, very well. So yeah, and we've had a good international break with getting players and increasing the fitness level. So hopefully all those players should be fit and available.
In terms of your recent record, of course, you've only played Manchester City not too long ago in the Community Shield, and it favoured well for you that day. Your recent record against City has been promising and encouraging one as well. Without giving too much away, of course, in terms of game plan, what is it that you look to implement every single time as to why you seem to get so much success against City?
No, listen, they're an incredible team of players, and I've always said they get the world's best manager. So it's always a huge challenge when you play against Manchester City. So and this will be no different. Their squad is, they play the best positioning game in the world. The level of technique, the intensity, and the hunger of which they play, and that's why they've been so successful with Pep over these last numbers of years. So you have to be fully concentrated. You need to try and stay in the game, and then when you have the ball, you're going to be restricted in terms of your percentage of possession with the ball, no matter how good you are on the ball. But then when you have it, it's having that confidence to play and exploit any spaces that are there. So yeah, it's a team that you have to have full concentration against. Quality all over the field in their build-up play, how they prepare the game through the midfield, and then they get real special talents at the top end of the field that can make the difference. So like playing against any top opponent, you need to defend well. You need to play well when you have the ball. You need a little bit of luck, and you need to take your opportunities. So all of that combined, you hope, can fall for you on the day.
As a club manager, is the international break something that is encouraged this early into the season? It's an opportunity to restart. I know you were very open after the Norwich game and said that so far you've seen that your team has kind of been off the standards that you kind of expect from them. So this is an opportunity now to start afresh with so many games still left in the season anyway. Yeah,
no, it's not starting afresh. It's just a build-up over the course of the season. We've made a really solid start. Lots of players missing and whatnot, but we've made a solid start, winning 2 out of 3 games. But the exciting part for me is that with hopefully players returning and more game time and more fitness, then that performance level, I'm pretty sure, will increase. I think for me what was important after the Norwich game or after the West Ham game was that the players, we showed our mentality as a group, because you can't win every game. However, you have to have that ability to regroup and dig in. That's very important in any team. So going away to Norwich after the West Ham game was important for us, and we got the 3 points. So yeah, players over international break will gain that bit of fitness. The ones that have stayed here, the ones that have gone away and played, you want them to get game time to increase their fitness. Thankfully, hopefully they'll come back fit and ready, and then we'll get a really exciting period now through to the next international break with some top games in the start of our European campaign.
A question from the fans, really. Ali Lookman, this will be the first opportunity we've had a chance to kind of see him feature within the squad. Kind of what have you seen from him that, first of all, you wanted to kind of bring and work with him, but also how excited are you maybe for him to feature this weekend as well?
Yeah, I'm really excited about working with Adi. He is a top talent. I wanted to take him to Celtic when he was at Charlton. So I was aware from when he was 15, 16 the talent that he's been. And I just think he's one that he has all the tools. He's got great dribbling ability. Physically, he's good. He's got a good view of the game. He's very honest to the game. He works so hard. He's got an eye for a goal. And my hope is that this environment that he comes into will allow him to flourish and give him that stability to shine, because he's a great man, still very young, and if he can find a home here, I've got absolutely no doubt the Leicester City supporters, when he plays, will be really excited by him. And what was important for us in our squad is to have that talent that we can bring into the game or start the game. And he's got big ability, and we hope that this environment and our team structure will allow that to flourish.
Brendan, I just got a couple of wider questions from you, just in terms of what's happening in the sport. I'm sure you would have heard about this club versus country debate in terms of with the red list that's happened at this moment in time. Do you think there's growing pressure on players in terms of around their international representation and sort of the debate, and what are the conversations that you're having with your players who would have gone on international duty?
Well, obviously, we spoke to the players going away beforehand, just to highlight what was happening above them. I don't think it's for the players, with all due respect. I think all players, they just want to play football. They want to play for their countries, and they want to come back to here and play for their clubs and for their supporters. So I think it sits beyond the players. It shouldn't be with players. You know, this is for the governments and the hierarchies to make the decisions, and the authorities. So I think it's for the authorities to find the solutions for when players can travel and when we can't. And finally, for me, I'm sure you would have been on the training grounds today, so I'm just going to give a little bit of breaking news about a proposal that's been given by FIFA to try to change the World Cup to happening every 2 years. Now, you as a club manager, of course, you know the window, you spent 80% with you guys and 20% with the international teams, but just your thoughts on potentially the World Cup does change to happen every 2 years. Yeah, I haven't given it too much, so I've seen it banded about. My own initial thoughts are, I think what is important is that we think of the players. You know, it's okay having all these competitions and having them every 2 years or 4 years and all these games, and especially on the back of the pandemic over this last couple of years. I think we have to ensure that it's about the quality of football, and because the players are the guys that have to play the games, and like I said, especially the top players, it's arguable that they can play too much. So for me, I think it's about the quality of the tournament. I actually quite enjoy the Euros every couple of years, and then you go to the World Cup every 4 years. That, for me, fits well. But I think in any decision, it all has to be taken in the number of games that players are playing, because we all want to see quality. And the last thing you want at the end of a season is to see players that have played maybe 50, 60 odd games being tired going into tournament football. Because that, again, the spectacle and the quality and the risk of injury will always be there then and be affected.
Pleasure as always, Brendan.
Cheers. Thanks, JD. Thank you.
Okay, Damien from PLP, please.
Hi, Brendan.
Hi, Damien.
Hi. Ederson and Jesus seem to be affected by this 5-day rule. Do you expect City to play them? Are you preparing to face a team that may include them?
I think, Damien, for us, we're just preparing to play against a top quality team, whether it's Jesus or Riyad Mahrez or Raheem Sterling that's playing, then it's going to be top players that they have. They get an incredible squad that are full of talent and winners. So whichever team Manchester City will play, we'll be preparing for a top team.
You spoke very excitedly about the prospects for Ademola Lookman. Are you tempted to unleash him in a game like this, where it's the champions coming to town? It's an opportunity to use his pace, perhaps on the counter attack if you're not having the ball that much. Are you tempted to throw him in? Well,
Harvey Barnes does okay in that front as well, and we have a number of players that can give us that option. I'm just excited to work with Adi over the course of the season. He's going to contribute, I'm pretty sure, over the many games that we'll have. And like I said, we'll finalise the team and the preparation for that tomorrow. But he's available. He looks fit. He looks strong. He's excited to be here. And if he doesn't start, he may well play at some part in the game. But over the course of the season, I'm really excited to work with him and see what he can bring to this group of players.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Damien.
Okay, James from TalkSport.
Hi, Brendan. How are you?
Good, James. Thank you.
Brendan, in terms of Ademola Lookman, how beneficial do you think having that season loan at Fulham last season was? And you mentioned Harvey Barnes there. Do you think they can complement one another, or do you think it's either Harvey or Adi?
No, I think that he can play in a number of positions. Ademola, I think his preferred position would be off the left side, but I've seen him enough when he was at Charlton. He can play on the inside as well, in behind a striker. He can play off the right. He's very balanced. He's got 2 great feet. You wouldn't know what was the strongest. He can play and strike the ball so well off both sides. So I think his contribution, depending on the tactic that we want to use in the game, will be very important. Like you say, Harvey's a different type of player, probably a little bit more direct, super fast in carrying the ball. But yeah, they're both different types. Probably both prefer to be on the left, but they are multifunctional. They can play in other areas of the field.
Last season, you won 5-2 against Manchester City. That was the second match of the season. You're taking them on in your 4th game of this campaign. Do you see that as a possibility of something like that happening again, or does it feel like that was a one-off?
Listen, you go into every game, you just can only prepare and hope that you can play well. You know that you're going to have to play well to get a result against Manchester City. You see how they've been in the last couple of games, finding their rhythm, finding their touch again, and their connection as a team. So you know that there's lots of things need to go well for you when you play against a team of that quality. But we're at home. We're looking forward to being back together again. Supporters in the stadium as well, so that'll be a huge boost for us. And it's just so important that you stay in the game against a team like Manchester City, and hopefully we can put on a good performance and result.
On a slightly different note, a number of the England players have been speaking recently about how they've been using sports psychologists to either help enhance their performance or to help with their mental health. What do you do at Leicester? What do you offer in terms of the mental side of the game?
Well, I think it's very, very important. I've always said since I've been a young coach that there's been always lots of focus on the technical side of the game, the tactical side and the physical side, but somehow there was a taboo around the mental side of the game. So I think in this modern era now that has slowly gone away. There's still maybe a feeling around it, but certainly now the modern player and coach sees the importance in it. I've always seen it as being very, very important. So we'll always provide that support for players, whether it's in here at the club or outside of the club, where we can have specialists to support and help. But it's absolutely 100% a part of the holistic approach to developing a football player, and it's certainly, it's a side of the game that is as equally important as the technical and tactical side, as well as the physical.
And just finally for me, Brendan, you mentioned there the taboo. How do you feel like the players' attitudes have changed towards using psychologists or tapping into the mental side of the game? We had Gabby O'Connell speaking this week saying at the time when it was introduced to Aston Villa, it was almost seen as a weakness to go to a psychologist, but now looking back, he wishes he did tap into that side of the game.
Yeah, but I also think it's society. It's not just football. I think there's always been that feeling, especially with men, in society as well as sport, is that it might have been a weakness, and there might have been a vulnerability to talk about it. But I think the world is changing for the better in terms of having that openness and that communication. And I've always said it's so important that people have the opportunity to lift burdens in life. You shouldn't have to carry a burden around with you if you have an issue or a problem. And having that opportunity to speak it out, and talk through it always makes you feel better afterwards. So in sport as well as society, I think it's a very important message that it's not, it's not any weakness whatsoever to talk about it. It's you have strength by doing it, and obviously, hopefully, you feel the benefits afterwards.
Thanks a lot, Brendan.
Thanks, James. Thank you.
Okay, Owen from Radio Leicester, please.
Hi, Brendan. Hope you're okay.
Hi, on.
I wondered whether I could ask you a little bit more about your injury situation. You said that Yannick Vestergaard and Jonny Evans are progressing well. Are they going to be available to play this weekend? Are they fit enough in their recovery to feature against Manchester City?
Well, that's what we have to assess going into this last 24 hours. Just where they're at. We had a training game last week that both of them played in here at the training ground, so they came through that. They're not going to be 100%, of course. We now only have 3 substitutes, so there's a strategy obviously going into the game that we have to be as sure as we possibly can in terms of how long the players can last. But yeah, we'll see where we're at before we finalise the team for tomorrow. But if it's, I think over the course of the next couple of weeks, that they'll be training more, hopefully involved more in the games, and they can build their fitness up.
And I wanted to ask about Ricardo as well, Brendan, because we saw him against Norwich holding that hamstring as he came off. You said it didn't look as bad as what it could have been after that one, but is he okay going into this one as well? Has he recovered from that fully now?
Yeah, so he trained today. He was out on the pitches yesterday, and he came through a session today and looked very good.
Good to hear. Will the players returning from injury, those 3 that we've just mentioned, and etc., allow you maybe to shift the formation a little bit, have maybe a little bit more flexibility with your formation? Because we've seen you play quite a few times against the top sides, a back 3 that can alternate into a back 5, but due to the nature of your centre-back options being injured, you've not been able to do that so far this season. So do those players coming back now allow you to have that flexibility with what you might play at the back against Manchester City?
Well, I think whether it's Manchester City or any other team, I've always stressed since I came into here, adaptability and flexibility within the systems are important, but of course you need availability of players to be able to do that. So yeah, these guys coming back should allow us that chance to do that if we decide that that's what the game needs or requires. So having that quality back and available will definitely help if that's the strategy that we want to look at.
Of course, Charles Soyuncu is a player who has featured all season, of course, but seemingly, with his sending off and giving away a penalty in the week as well, seems to be going for a little bit of a slip in form. And I wonder, from a manager's perspective, how important it is to have patience with a player like Charles Soyuncu, a young player who's made a lot of steps in recent years coming into the Premier League. How important is that patience with him whilst he maybe navigates a little bit of tough form and tough luck?
Yeah, I think it's so important for a manager to be able to support the player, and I think also we're also at a level where you can't consistently make mistakes, or else you don't play so much. That's also the reality of it. But whilst players do, and they go through a little period of hardship and maybe their confidence just dropping a little bit because they've made mistakes or just haven't been playing well, or for whatever other reason, of course that support is important. It's always difficult for the player if they're playing in a squad that is very competitive and there's someone knocking on the door behind them to play. So that hopefully will keep you concentrated to be at your very, very best. But yeah, it's always important for coaches and for managers to support and offer that confidence and help to the player whenever they go through a little sticky patch.
Just a couple more from me, Brendan, if you don't mind.
No worries.
I know you've spoken about getting back into the sort of mindset after an international break for players. How difficult has that been this time, because there's not too many days between the end of the international break and coming back to Leicester City, of course, to get those players back in and get them into their Leicester City mindset?
Yeah, well, it is. It's always a challenge. We have, so our Belgian players aren't back until tomorrow with the training group. Danny Ward won't be back, so the whole whole squad aren't back together until tomorrow. So, but yeah, it's always a challenge. But you get everyone back, you reset again, and then you get excited about the games ahead. And obviously, our next game against Manchester City it's a brilliant game for us. So we have to connect back quickly and get that sort of togetherness back. So yeah, we'll do that finally tomorrow.
And finally from me, Brendan, we've always seen sort of Pep Guardiola every single season since he's been at Manchester City develop and evolve at least sort of one area in particular. And it's been sort of consistent, whether it's in the midfield or individual players or in the defence. And I wonder, when you look at them, whether you see that evolution of one part of their game so far, and how much that is in your mind when you're preparing your tactics and style to face them on Saturday.
No, listen, I've said it many times. I think Pep's an incredible coach. You know, one of the real pioneer for the modern game. He's a real inherent belief in the positioning of the team. It's about numbers. It's about creating an overload, whether that's at the back, 3 versus 2, 2 versus 1, 4v3 in the midfield. But obviously, principally looking to have the ball as much as they can in order to create opportunities to score. So yeah, and he's always had little slants in terms of where the fullbacks are. If one is in and one's out, or both are inside and playing with wingers outside. So yeah, they're a team full of talented players with, as is a very talented coach who is able to maximise what he can get out of top level players. So yeah, so that's always the challenge for every opponent, and for us, as I said, we know what that challenge will be. But we've always looked to be competitive and look to show our qualities in the game, and hopefully we can do that as well.